you're in Australia, right? So like where in
I
Australia?
am. I'm in Sydney.
Okay.
So I'm like in the western suburbs of Sydney in Blacktown, and I live
Gotcha.
out towards Liverpool area, one of the hot spots.
See, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. So how are things with COVID in Australia or in your area, you know?
It to be honest, it's like it feels pretty normal now. Like I was
Hmm.
stuck in traffic today, and I was actually like, "Fuck, can they just kind of bring back some kind of restriction so I can drive?"
Yeah, I know, right? Like it's
Because it's kind of like I miss the ghost roads. Like
hmm
I missed just being able to drive somewhere and it taking like 15 minutes, and
yeah.
now it's like takes like 45 minutes, and I keep preparing the day before to leave 5 minutes earlier or
Uh-huh.
10 minutes earlier, and then there's like an accident, and then there's like a roadblock, and I'm like, fuck, I'm sick of
Yeah.
this shit already, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I understand. Are you guys like having any kind of restrictions now? Like what about like masks and all that? Are you still or
um no, there's no masks. There's no mandatory masks here. I think in some businesses like that you go into, you still have to
gotcha.
um like you got to sign in with the app,
Mm-hmm.
the little like scanny thing,
Yeah, yeah.
or write in your phone number and all that stuff. And but there's no real mask restrictions, not in New South Wales, but in Melbourne, like they're still in level 4 or level 3 lockdown,
Mhm.
so they can't go further than 5 kilometers from their homes.
Wow. So how far is that from where you are? Like a time
So
wise?
Melbourne is in like South Australia, so if I was to drive there, it'd take like probably about 9 hours.
Oh, okay, okay. So quite a
Yeah,
good distance.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
you're far away from it.
yeah,
Gotcha.
so I'm like in between Queensland, like the
Mhm.
Gold Coast, and Victoria, and so the Gold Coast, I'm pretty sure they've pretty much got no restrictions left now as well. I think they're even opening up clubs
Mhm.
and stuff
Gotcha.
like that.
How
So
did when the restrictions came through, how did they affect like your training, your business, since you're a personal trainer yourself, a coach? Like did that
um,
have a heavy effect on you or no?
yeah, well, at first, uh, it was because literally I finished a bodybuilding competition
Hmm.
on the 23rd of March. So I was in Melbourne, and the next day I was supposed to fly here and then I'd fly to New Zealand like a couple days later to go
Hmm.
home and visit my family and stuff. Um, and so all of the lockdown and stuff happened when I was in Melbourne. So it was a bit like it was a bit
Yeah.
crazy. It's like I stepped off stage and then the next day they're like closing borders tomorrow, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like my flight was canceled. We're like, we need to get in the car before they close the
Gotcha.
border. So we had to
Yeah.
drive back up, and
Yeah.
then I came back home, and the I think I was working for like maybe 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and then they're like, oh, we're shutting down all the gyms and shit, and so I was like, holy shit, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
But I kind of like made a game plan anyway with most of my clients, and because I had a space
Hmm.
at home, and so they just came to my house to train.
Gotcha.
And
So you have
even
a
during lockdown, it was like they came to my house, and um, and I kind of met them halfway because a lot of them I couldn't work as much,
mhm.
so I like reduced my rate, and they came
Right.
to my house, and then so we just made it work,
Yeah.
and I actually got busier during lockdown because people were like, for their like sanity's sake, they just
Hmm.
wanted to train. So they're
Yeah.
like, I would get messages, people would be like, oh my god, are you PTing? Like,
Yeah.
so they would just come to me and I'd train them.
Hmm. It's crazy how there was a huge fitness kick like once the whole lockdowns and everything happened. Because here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm at, there's I've never seen so many people walking outside. Like you would never see
Yeah,
people walking outside, and all of a sudden there's like people jogging, walking, riding
yeah,
bikes. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I guess it took a
yeah.
pandemic for people to start caring about their health.
exactly. Yeah. And they, and just, I think it's also, you know, it's something that a lot of people take for granted, you know,
Mhm.
so it's like the only way for them to stay active or whatever was
Yeah.
to actually go outside.
Right.
And, you know, I bet a lot of those people like walked 200 meters down their homes and they saw like a
Yeah.
park that they'd never seen before. I'd be like, oh, I didn't even know this was down my street.
Yeah.
You know, like
For sure.
just
For
this,
sure.
all these new discoveries.
That's
But
it. Like once you kind of like open up the blinders, oh, there's all this stuff here now.
yeah, yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. But yeah, I didn't change much of my lifestyle. Like
Hmm.
I was still like I'd jump on my motorcycle and
Yeah.
go on a ride somewhere, and I just uh, I always say like you got to risk it for the biscuit. And so
Yeah.
so I was kind of like, man, for my sanity, like
Yeah.
if someone pulls me over, like this is what I need for my mental health, like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
um
see, I heard that like Australia is very strict in general as a country, as far as like even just bringing things into the country, taking things out,
yeah,
and then like with this, like I heard there was a lot of like strictness going on there as well. So I wasn't sure, how things are now, but it looks like where you are, it's pretty open, pretty free.
yes, looks Sydney's pretty good.
Yeah.
There's no real restrictions here. Like I'm planning my first workshop, which I'll be actually advertising t- today or
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Um, and I'm like, oh, I can cut numbers at uh, 20 people,
Mm-hmm.
because it's you only allowed groups of
A
20 or
certain amount.
something.
Yeah.
But I think like literally yesterday, I think it changed to like 50. So
Oh,
now I'm like,
even
even though
better.
I'd probably like I'd shit myself if there was 50 people coming to my workshop. I'd be like, holy shit, like get your shit together. But I
Yeah.
mean, it would be amazing,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like as a turnout. But yeah. So
So you have that
so
option now.
I think restrictions are being lifted, but I don't even have a TV.
Mm.
So like one, I don't have time to watch it.
Uh-huh.
Two, it really does not like capture my attention at all, because
Gotcha.
I would rather watch like a documentary
Right.
on psychedelic mushrooms, or like can
Well, nobody
something
really watches
something interesting.
nobody really watches TV anymore. It's all like on apps now. Like everything is like apps, People watch stuff on their
Yeah, I like
phones, on YouTube. Like no, the old like TV model is like pretty much gone now.
yeah, like
So
I think the people that do the morning show and stuff, like I think they're going broke now.
yeah,
Like
oh for sure, for
no
sure.
one no one even wants to watch them.
For sure. Well, yeah,
Um,
it's crazy how it all kind of worked out. How did you like get into fitness and training and everything like that? Were you always that way? Were your parents that way?
my parents were always very active. Uh, I like, I guess I've always been pretty active with my dad,
Hmm.
because he used to take me climbing,
Yeah.
mountaineering, like you know, um, scuba diving, all that stuff,
Hmm.
and so we were like adventure kids, and then I got into climbing, and he was like, I wanted to climb Mount Cook when I was really young, which is like the highest mountain in the southern hemisphere.
Hmm.
And I guess that whole like point of focus thing came from him saying, well, I'll take you climbing when you can do 50 push-ups
Hmm.
unbroken and 10 pull-ups. And so every day I was like, roll out of bed, start doing push-ups, like until I could do it. And then when I could, he's like, all right, I'll take you climbing this weekend. And then that kind of like that triggered focus point began
Yeah.
from there. So whenever I have like a date or something, um, I'm like 100% focused on that.
You're
So
very goal oriented.
yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
when I got into snowboarding and I was doing that professionally, and I blew out my knee,
Oh wow.
had like ACL reconstructions times two,
Uh-huh.
plus my meniscus, and so I started training in the gym for rehab for my injuries,
Yeah.
and then I started studying fitness and personal training and stuff. So that's where that started. But as for competitions and that didn't start till I got to Australia. And as you can see, I saw you read my last few posts about that experience,
Yeah.
which I still have to finish the story. It gets worse.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But that and like that didn't like deter me from wanting to compete. It just deterred me from having a coach, and so it kind of pushed me to learn myself so that I could coach myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. And so it's always that competition date, right? I'm like, all right, 20 weeks or whatever to put all my energy into that one day. And so that's where that whole focus things comes from.
Yeah. It sounds like you've done a lot. I mean, you're talking about snowboarding, mountain
Yeah.
climbing, biking, bodybuilding. Is that just the kind of like person that you are? You just like to do a lot of, or is that just how people are in New Zealand, Australia? They just do a lot of outdoor.
Um, no, I think it's just me.
Just you. Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
I'm like I don't know, I guess you want to call it like an adrenaline junkie,
I
if you
got you.
will.
Okay.
But I think I just never had any fear when it came to doing like pretty much anything, which is it's a blessing, but also a curse in itself because I can be quite reckless. And I've learned my lessons the hard way.
Yeah.
Hence I've had a broken hand for 4 months now.
Oh wow.
Actually longer, but and that was just because I was an idiot and jumped off the waterfall.
And how did it end up breaking your hand off a waterfall?
So it's kind of a complex story.
Okay.
So I jumped off the waterfall, which I've done hundreds of times, but this one I just I decided to be safer, and instead of like flipping or whatever, I jumped straight off, but my foot slipped, and I actually thought I was gonna die.
Oh wow.
While I was falling, I was like, "Fuck, this is it. I'm done. This is how I'm going." And I fully accepted it because I thought I was gonna hit the rocks at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I hit the water like so hard. It actually broke my skin, like on the side of my glute. And because I hit my tailbone. And anyway, I had really, really bad bruising and everything. And I literally only knew I was alive when I hit the water because the pain.
Right.
And so
did someone help you out, or did you come out yourself?
No, I swam out. I think the adrenaline of the shock was just like, it was almost like it didn't faze me. And then like an hour later, like it kind of started to set in, and then I was like crying, and I was like, oh fuck, like it's like so intense, and I had like big welts and everything on my leg, and like massive hematoma.
I could only imagine.
Yeah. And then a week later, I was training one of my clients outside, like during COVID. She dropped well, I don't blame her, but I sat like this barbell up, and it fell like and broke my foot. So I had a broken foot. And then while I was training during COVID, like two weeks later, I was training like on the bag, like punching. And I punched, and I was like, I just had a lot of rage and everything, right? Because of my foot and because of the waterfall, and I was in like so much pain that I punched the bag wrong, and then I broke my hand. But I didn't realize it.
Did you curl your like wrist when you hit it and it came down, or?
I actually didn't know. I didn't realize. I thought I just like sprained my hand or something. And I didn't do anything for maybe a month or two.
Yeah.
until it just wasn't coming right. And then I went and got like x-rays, ultrasound, and then I got a bone scan. And the bone scans said that my hand was broken, that my tailbone was broken, and my
Wow.
foot was broken all in the same month.
Wow.
So I broke my hand because of like the other
Yeah.
things. Like,
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
that make that does
Yeah,
that
it
make
does.
sense?
It does make sense.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so like I blame my
It,
recklessness on
mhm.
my stupidity.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
but it's kind of been a blessing because it's really like made me like step back, allow
Mhm.
my body to heal properly, you know. Obviously like I'm quite spiritual,
Mhm.
and it's just really it's allowed me to like sit with it
Mhm.
and actually come to these realizations that like, you know, I can't blame anything or anyone. It's literally
Mhm.
my own doing.
Mhm.
um so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the like a lot of sports and like just things that like people do, it's fun and it can even be good for you, right? But it's like, but there's always that risk of like of injuring yourself or hurting yourself to, and it's, especially dealing with the sports that like the extreme, quote unquote, extreme sports, that you're
yeah,
involved in is such a high level of chance of something happening, and
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
but
That's Go
I
ahead.
think the feeling is worth it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely a place for it, right? There are a lot of people that do it, right? So,
Yeah.
definitely. So, are you like, how are you on the recovery? Are you completely healed? You said your hand is still broken.
No, like I'm literally not wearing my brace now because I was in such a rush to get to work today that I like just threw everything in my bag and like
Gotcha.
and came to work. Um, so I wear it during the day,
Hmm.
just because it makes me more aware, just to like not, you know, lift, move stuff.
Right.
It is almost healed, but because it's just the delicate little bones, it
Yeah.
just takes a while. But I'm going to the doctor today for him to. I might get another bone scan to
Yeah. Yeah.
see what's happening because it is taking a long time.
To heal.
Um, yeah, and I was actually hit with a pretty hard truth as well for um, that it is taking so long to heal, and a lot of that was because of my like from bodybuilding and stuff and substance use and all of that.
Hmm.
Um, because it does like um, degenerate your bones.
Gotcha.
Um, you know, your bone density and tendons, ligaments makes them more brittle, all of that. So
Hmm. Hmm. So with that being said, are you gonna be competing in bodybuilding anytime soon?
um, probably not.
Hmm.
Um, and the thing is like if if I did, I wouldn't like I would literally do it naturally,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't compete in a natural federation. Even if I hadn't used anything for 20 years, I wouldn't compete in a natural federation because it's still not fair.
Right.
Um, like with my own morals, like because
Right.
I don't, you know, like if you're competing with athletes that have done
Sh-
this their entire lives, like
Sure.
drug free, you know, like
Do you think
it's just
that's true?
against what I believe in.
Do you think that's true? Do you think
Well,
there's?
no, but for me
Hmm.
personally,
Hmm.
like, and obviously everyone knows that
Right.
that I did compete with IFBB and stuff before.
Right.
So I just feel like it's still like even if I lost all of my muscle and then I decided to like prep again, I
Right.
still think think it's unfair. So
Sure. Sure.
if I was to compete, it would actually be with probably with IFBB or something again.
Mm.
But I would do it naturally, and I would just do it for longer
Right.
because
Were you competing in figure?
so I used to do women's physique,
Women's physique.
um, and then I just didn't really like where it was going because it was pretty
Hmm.
much going back to like bodybuilding, you
Hmm.
know. Like I
Yeah.
was competing with ladies who were placing and like their hair is falling out and like
Right.
Like I was like, yo, like I would rather be like the prettiest one on stage than fucking get
Right.
to that point. So then I dropped down to I went to WBFF,
Mm-hmm.
that federation, um, and did a few comps with them. And you know, they're like, oh, we want you to come in softer than you would with for physique and this and that. And
Mm-hmm.
then like, and then they're, you know, and then they'd be like, oh, we want you to come in harder and then like
Mm-hmm.
softer and smaller. And I was just like, man, fuck this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to IFBB, which I did after I did this WBFF comp. And then a week later, or 2 weeks later, I did an IFBB figure, but I didn't tell anyone. I just kept prepping. And then like did a post on my Instagram with
Mm-hmm.
my trophy. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know, like
That's the way to do
sort
it.
of,
Just drop the mic. Yeah.
yeah, like, and I got there and there's all these people that are like, are you competing today? And I'm like, yep. And they're like, oh shit, I didn't even know you were coming. And it's like, it was such like I literally just flew into Melbourne the day before
Mm-hmm.
and then just got up the next day, went to the comp, and then flew out the next day back
Gotcha.
home. Um,
Gotcha.
and yeah,
Was
so yeah, and then I dropped down to wellness for the
Oh, so you
next
did a wellness
the
show.
yeah, but they said I still had like my delts was too big and like,
Yeah,
but
that's
I still love the look a lot
uh-huh.
more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, if this is gonna be my last comp for a long time, I was like, why not? Like
Right.
I did 2 divisions. I did figure and wellness, and then for the Arnold's in Melbourne, I I just did the wellness
Yeah.
division, which was an interesting competition. I think it was probably one of the last bodybuilding competitions in the world before lockdown,
Yeah.
and like Tony Doherty made that shit happen. Like he was like got some warehouse in
Mm-hmm.
like an industrial area, and we are only allowed like 50 people as like the audience or whatever, one
Right.
person like at a time to come out. Like it was pretty like, it was so ghetto but so cool at the same time.
Well,
And
it's amazing that he's able to get it accomplished because like when I was just about to go to the Arnold in Columbus, and the
yeah,
day that I was gonna leave, I was gonna fly in that evening, that Thursday. Um, they I saw online where it was like basically the whole Arnold was canceled. Now I know that like
yeah,
Arnold fought hard to get the show, at least the show done, but it was a lot of work just to even do that.
yeah,
So it was a big wrench in my year. You know, I really wanted to
yeah,
go, but
yeah.
yeah. So you're probably not competing at this point. So what are you like focusing on? Is there just the training aspect that like you're just focusing on training people?
So for me, I what like originally I was gonna step on say off stage and then start training uh, in Muay Thai to
Okay.
do like kickboxing
Yeah.
and jump in the ring. Um, and then of course I fractured my hand. So
Yeah. Hard to do Muay Thai with no hand. Yeah.
yeah, like I kept training, but I was just, you know, I wasn't punching and stuff. It was like
Mm-hmm.
elbows, knees, kicks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, it was like uh, I just kind of thought, man, I just need to start to get a shoulder impingement and stuff, and so I just stepped right back to basics and started doing like rehab for my shoulder, strengthening like my core, like fixing my back pain, like you know. So I stepped
Yeah.
right back. That's why like breaking my hand was kind of a blessing because it just, I was like, man, I've beat up my body for like years and I've
Mm-hmm.
been walking around in like chronic pain, but I just handle it.
Right.
Um, and so I was like, I think I'm just gonna actually use this opportunity as an opportunity to like to fix like my broken body
Sure.
basically.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's kind of my main focus now, and just getting my cardio fitness up. I'm actually plant-based at the moment too, so I'm
Gotcha.
vegan.
Gotcha.
I'll
What
eat
made?
meat again. I love meat, but
Mhm.
the um, I have like a high uric acid in my
Mhm.
blood, which which affects like my joints, and you can get gout and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Gout is terrible. Yeah. It's
yeah,
very painful. Mhm.
yeah, like I don't have it, but I'm like I had to kind of address it before it got to that point.
Sure.
My
Sure.
my I can feel it in my kidneys too. Like I'm actually going to the doctor today to check out
Mhm.
my left one.
Have you
Um,
noticed any major like differences since you went vegan? Like
oh
anything that
yeah,
stands out?
oh yeah, yeah, like incredible changes, to be
Okay.
honest. With
Like for
with
the benefit, like good changes?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, of course, yeah. Like my skin, my hormones,
Mhm.
because I used to get quite bad like cystic acne, and that
Mhm.
was mostly from just my you know my body balancing again after coming off
Right. The PD.
gear and
Yeah.
stuff
Mhm.
from earlier in the year. So, and it doesn't just take like a few weeks to get out of your system. It takes
Right.
like fucking months. It's probably
Right.
been what, 8 months, 9 months now since then. And, I'm sleeping better. I like, I find just any inflammation in my body, like injury wise,
Mhm.
it's just allowed me to heal a lot quicker,
Mhm.
and because it's uh, less of a load on my liver,
Gotcha.
um, less of a load on my kidneys and digestive system, which allows your body to go through other processes of you know addressing healing to where your body needs it, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
It does. I was gonna ask you if you felt that you tend to eat more or less now that you're vegan. Do you eat more food or less food? You would say, or about the same?
Um, Probably about the same,
About the same.
but because my training capacity is not I'm not like doing like 2 leg days a week plus like all these upper body
Hmm.
weight sessions that I train for like 2 or 3 hours 6 days a week. Like
Yeah.
so my demand, like the demand for food on my body is not as high. So
Right.
um, but because I like well, I'll admit, I had like a very distorted, um, I guess, eating patterns
Hmm.
before,
Hmm.
or call it an eating disorder if you want.
Sure.
So it for me, like not measuring my food, not weighing my food and calculating all my calories, like so, you know, um, so strictly, has really like had a positive effect on
Mhm.
like my mental health,
Right.
and I'm starting to see it now in my body too and feel it. So it's like if I'm hungry, like all I want to do is eat like colorful, high micronutrient food
Hmm.
that's going to like nourish my body and fuel my body. And if I feel like something like a vegan donut, or like yesterday I had vegan pizza and
Hmm.
ate like an entire pizza, but I kind of fasted the whole day because I was just really busy.
Right.
And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have a vegan pizza,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the calories in that pizza are nowhere near like what a fucking Domino's pizza would be
Right.
with
Right. Of
pepperoni
course.
and
Yeah.
and four cheeses, So
Of course. Yeah.
it's I don't feel like bloated after. I don't feel like
Yeah.
inflamed. I don't feel sluggish. So,
Gotcha.
and I actually like it. But to me, in my honest opinion, I think the best kind of diet that anyone can have or follow is like a vegan diet
Mhm.
with some animal proteins, whether it's
Right.
seafood
Right.
or like organic grass fed
Right.
or like home kill meat.
Yeah.
Um, because like I think there was that documentary on Netflix.
Hmm.
What was it called?
Is
The
it?
one about the vegan.
Are you talking about Game
Um,
Changers?
Yeah,
Game.
yeah, game
Yeah.
changers. Like the whole thing made me cringe like every 5 minutes, but um, because
Mhm.
it's like athletes went from eating steak and broccoli meals to a meal that has like quinoa, pumpkin seeds, hemp oil,
Mhm.
hemp seeds, beans, and
Right.
it's like jam packed full of micronutrients. So of course you're gonna fucking feel better when
Mhm.
you're eating that. Imagine if you had that steak with that vegan meal instead.
Right. Right.
Because you're
Right.
you're getting fuck all nutrients from just having like some broccoli
Right.
and steak. Like there's not much like kind of micronutrient intake from that.
Sure.
But so all of these athletes are going, oh my god, I've got no inflammation, I have so much energy, and this, and it's like, well, that's because you're actually loading up on
Right.
micronutrients and all of
Mhm.
these like really good dietary fats and fiber as well.
Yeah. I think
Where
it's interesting how people like personally in my life too, like it's like you go one way, like really extreme, then you go like you get a little older, then you go another way really extreme, and then you basically come back to the same thing that you kind of already intrinsically knew, that a
yeah,
balanced diet is the way to eat, just a
yeah,
little bit of everything, like
yeah, exactly,
in a moderate way, so
yeah.
it's yeah, it's like it's always like some kind of fad that wants you to just, go all one way, eliminate this, eliminate that completely. And it's like
Mm,
unless you're deficient in some way, like you have some kind of disease or something that
yeah, yeah.
allow you to do that. But otherwise, if you're normal functioning human being, a balanced diet, is the way to go. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
get the best of everything. So
Mm.
anyways, so at this point, like, how I was gonna ask you, how is your like training in general? When you train people, are you mostly training lifestyle people? Are you training competitors?
At the moment, I'm not training competitors because there's
Okay.
no. I think there's a competition actually in like 2.5 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks. Um, like a bodybuilding, like a NABA
Mm-hmm.
competition or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think there might be a few that are lined up next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but most of my clients are kind of just like lifestyle,
Okay.
do their normal routines. But most of them I'll train like gen pop
Mm-hmm.
and get them to a stage where they train like an athlete. So that is
Gotcha.
always my goal. That is always my goal. So um, where a lot of personal trainers, a lot of therapists and stuff like that, right? They're very money driven. Where I'm like a people person. So
Mm-hmm.
I do it like for the people.
Right.
And I want the best for my clients because for me, if I can see someone training in the gym now that I used to train, and they might still train with me once a week just to kick their ass,
Right.
which is great. Um, but I can write them a program and I know confidently that they can do every single thing on that program, whether it's a front squat, whether it's like clean and jerks, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's deadlifts, and a proper bench press and stuff like with proper form and
Right.
intensity. If I can see them doing that on their own in the gym and I taught them how to do that, then I'm like, sweet,
Yeah.
my job is done. My job is done, and and then I get the next person. So I always say it's like they start
Right.
off as a caterpillar and they finish as a butterfly because they can
Yeah.
go off and do their own thing now. And that's always been my goal is to, um, you know, not just make my clients need me all the time
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you're an investment to them,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so you always want them to take something away from you, right? It's all about
Right.
sharing your knowledge and your skill, not just going through the motions, making making them do fucking this and that. Like you have some people like that, and
Yeah.
they just want to be there. They just want to be there for the conversation, which is
Right.
fine, right? Um, but like my goal is to always educate, um, and pass that knowledge on so that
Yeah.
they can do their own thing,
Yeah. Well, that's
as
the
a
best.
lifestyle change.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to be, right? Like you're trying to teach them how to be able to be healthy and athletic and fit individuals. Um, whether you're there or not, if they move and they leave and they go somewhere else, you don't want them to crash and burn, so
Yeah.
without you, so that's plus if you, do a good job with them and you progress them, they'll tell other people and other people will, find out
Mm.
about you that way. Word of mouth is a big thing, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So, is your training a lot like more functional? Like you're trying to get them to be like more functional. You talk
Um,
a lot of cleaning jerks and like, is it more CrossFit oriented?
no, like everyone's different, to be
Mhm.
honest. But I do make sure that everyone has their like foundational strength and they can do pretty much their big three. So their bench press, their deadlift, and their squat.
Mhm.
Um, and I always start like from like sheer basics from the beginning.
Gotcha.
Like squatting down to like a box.
Mhm.
Even if they say like, oh yeah, I've been squatting for years, and then they do one squat, and I'm like, no, 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 let's take this back. Like, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna take your ego right now and put it in the bin, and we're gonna fucking start from the beginning,
Yeah, yeah.
especially with guys, and
Mhm.
I'm like, we're gonna do some lateral raises, and they go and grab like 15s. I'm like, no, 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 here's some 4 kilos, and they're like, the fuck am I gonna do with these? And then like I teach them how to do them properly, and they
Mhm.
like literally ruin their delts with like 10 reps, and they're
Yeah,
like, I've never like felt this before, and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I know. It's because you're just trying to be like that dude next to you, and he's nothing. Like,
Right, right,
you
right.
know, like that's I'm like very very straight up,
Yeah.
straightforward, and um, if you see any of my, I haven't videoed actually any sessions in a while, but the way that I speak to my clients, I can adapt to
Mhm.
their personalities and whatnot. But once, we
Mhm.
build a pretty good relationship, I'm just straight up,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
um,
That's the best way to be. Sometimes people get stuff sugar coated to them, and then that's no good. You don't want anybody to
yeah,
sugarcoat, especially if you're paying
yeah,
money and you're trying to get
mm,
results. You
yeah,
you want people to give you results. So
yeah. And I'm pretty
so
loud too. Like I'll like
no way.
I literally like embarrass them on purpose and like just
That's funny.
like and
So
I'm
you're
like,
one of
let's
those
go.
coaches that yells a lot.
Yeah, but it depends on my mood as well. Like if I'm like the other night, I haven't worked nights in ages. Towards the end of the day, probably around between 3 and 5,
Hmm.
I'll because I'm, if you want to put a label on it, like bipolar. So my energy like
Sure.
goes like this
Up and
over
down.
the
Yeah.
day. And if I'm like manic, like that's when my clients love me because I'm just super like
Right.
so much
Intense.
energy and intense and I was training one of my clients the other day who's going to do pull-ups, and he was fucked, and I'm like, do you want me to do to you what my ex-boyfriend used to do that he used to hate? And he's like, what's that? And I'm like, and I went behind him and I like slapped him on the shoulders like as hard as I could, and he was like, fuck, what the fuck? And I was like, but now you want to train, right? And he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
fuck. And then he like started doing these pull-ups, and I'm like, I know you hate it, but it works, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah. Yeah.
like, it
Yeah.
actually does. And then these other dudes were like laughing, right? And like,
That's funny. That's
and
funny.
I'm like, and then I was like, watch this, watch. They're gonna start slapping each other now, like just like it's a
Yeah.
joke. But
They're gonna follow you, follow suit.
yeah, yeah. But so we're serious, and then in between sets,
Yeah.
I'm always dancing around, dancing and joking
Gotcha.
around and whatever. So
How long do your workouts usually last?
uh, like an hour.
Hour? No,
So
so no more than an
um,
hour.
yeah, I just do 1 hour
Yeah.
sessions, and there's times though if I have especially competition clients,
Hmm.
or if someone's training for like a powerlifting comp or something,
Hmm.
sometimes I'll just keep like because I enjoy that training, like if we're
Right.
going for a PB, I'm like, mate, I don't have to be anywhere. Like we're
Right.
just gonna
Right.
keep training, and they're like, oh
Gotcha.
fuck, but I'm like,
Yeah.
but they obviously like that's my free time.
Yeah.
So, they're like, fuck, I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll
Well, it shows that
we'll
you
keep
care.
training.
Yeah, it shows
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
care. I mean, if you're willing to
Um,
give up your time, that's definitely something that you're passionate about. So,
yeah, yeah.
mm,
But yeah, everyone's a bit different, and some we do like circuit training. Some
mm-hmm,
we do some metabolic training and sled pushes, kettlebell
mm-hmm,
swings.
mm-hmm,
Um, but my way of programming is like, I guess I created like my own
mm-hmm.
kind of
Sure.
method because it's because I know it works. But we always start with with some mobility stuff, then strength
Mm-hmm,
stuff. So like a rep range probably between like 4 and 6 reps for the first two exercises, and then we'll go up maybe like 8 to 10 or like 12 reps. Sometimes I'll throw a set in there where we just do 2 sets, but like 20, 30 reps, just
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
like you know fuck them up a little bit, and
Yeah.
then and then we'll go and do some finish with like a Tabata or like a little functional circuit or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of hitting every aspect of training in that hour, and it can be quite intense.
Yes.
But but other people see me training my clients in the gym, and then they're like, "Man, I want to train with you," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Sweet as, like,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go," you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Very,
So
very cool. Very cool. I'm trying to keep a good eye on the clock. So
yeah, yeah.
I know you've got an hour. Hey, I appreciate your time. So if somebody wanted to like reach out to you or get you as a coach, or you just pick your brain, like what's the best way to do it?
So they can send me a DM, slide into my DMs on my Instagram at
Hmm.
the Mental Maiden,
Gotcha.
um, or there's like a link in my bio that you go to my website, and it's got all my prices for online coaching,
Awesome.
and inquiries and personal training and stuff on there.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, and I'll tag all that on the video as well. Hey, I
yeah,
appreciate your
sweet.
time. You take care. Have a good rest of the
Thank you
day.
so much. Yeah, you too.